And let's get started. Okay, cool. So, for everyone that's watching this back, it's another Tuesday where we go over most of the feedback that I get throughout the week, from everyone, any struggles that they have, any barriers that they're facing. And at the minute, in the UK, we are coming to the winter and we're coming to the end of the year. And this is usually the time where, whenever we're working towards a goal or we I don't know, we always tend to hit a stump. The days get shorter, it's colder, it's darker, and there is a massive lack of motivation to even get out of bed, on top of how hard it is already. Um, so I think that's going to be like the main topic for today. Nothing too long, something that's easy to watch and get you up and motivated. For anyone that's watching inside the group, if you have any feedback of this, then just message me or pop it in the group, create a conversation around it. And for anyone that's listening outside, then this is what we do every single week inside the coaching group and on a Friday as well, where we focus on food. So, winter. So I've got a few notes here. First of all, I think the most important is from this recording, we have 70 days until the end of the year. So 70 days until 2025, which that can either go two ways. You can either go, oh my God, I can't believe it's that close. What am I doing? Or you could go, let's do it. We've got 70 days to absolutely smash out 2024. I set X, Y, and Z at the start of January. Let's double down and let's fully commit. And I guarantee anyone who commits for 60 days, forget about 70, if you can commit to 60 days, 100%, um, until the end of the year, you're going to smash whatever it is that you wanted to do or achieve. So we've got 70 days until the end of the year. Are you going to make it worth it, or are you just going to sit back and relax on it? So that's something to consider. And then that goes on to what's the goal as well. Anyone who lacks in motivation, obviously, in terms of life, there's 101 things going on. So when it comes to exercise, maybe like some physical goals or aesthetic goals, this is a tiny percentage of what life is about and how much it takes over. So when it goes to like what's the goal, we need something that's deeper rooted, something that's really meaningful. So it might not be let's get a six pack, or it might be I want to be able to walk X. Maybe the goal is something a little bit deeper. I want to feel X, Y, Z, or I want to sit at the table and not and know what to eat, or not feel embarrassed, or post a photo with people or family at Christmas and not be embarrassed by putting it on social media. Like, what is the deeper meaning of this? Like, if the goal is to lose weight, why is it to lose weight? What's the knock-on effect of it? How are you going to feel? Um, what clothes are you going to wear? Really start to picture it, start to image it. So for me at the minute, I'm cutting for a photo shoot. So when I'm struggling with diet and motivation and keeping on top of training, all I have in my head is just that thought of what I look like in the photo shoot. I don't know what I'm going to look like. I don't know how I'm going to turn up, but I've got an image in my head of what it might look like. And if I just stick to that, that keeps me on top of my goal. So whenever I'm like, oh, this diet's really hard. I just need like a little bit of food or anything like that. All I have is that picture in my head, and that keeps me going. And everyone's got different things, right? There might be different things um that keep you motivated. But throughout life, even when it came to university, in second year, I wanted to drop out. And my coach always said to me, but like what's the real deeper reason? And I was like, oh, like for me, it was like that photo with my mum at my graduation. And then when I got that photo, I was like, damn, like that's what I was thinking about the entire time. And subconsciously, that's what I was working towards. So you really need to picture an image, what that end goal is, how you're going to feel, what it's going to look like. And that will push you through, especially if you're struggling at the minute. So maybe for some of you, that's resetting a goal. Maybe that's realigning a goal. Maybe it's creating a new goal. Because maybe what you've worked towards you've hit, and now it's time to reassess and go over. And there are conversations that can be had. So motivation as well. So we talk about like what's the goal, but then there's motivation and tips around that. So especially if you're doing outdoor activity, it's cold outside, it's maybe it's raining, maybe it's snowing, whatever. Don't kid yourself, wrap up warm. At least there's something you can do about being cold, and that's putting an extra jumper on, dressing appropriately. If it's the cold that's bothering you, then do something about it because you actually can. When it's too hot, that gets a little bit more difficult to control. At least when it's cold, you can put an extra layer on. You know, even if it's bringing a flask with tea, coffee, whatever it is, keep yourself warm because you're only leading to failure if you don't. It's better to be overdressed or have an extra hoodie or, have your coat with you, than not because the last thing you want to be doing is using being cold as an excuse to not do the thing. And then that also goes to nutrition as well. So whenever we talk about new like goals and motivation as a whole, it always will come down to nutrition. So you usually notice, especially people who work from home, when the brain starts to slow down towards the end of the day, we can't think as clearly. Maybe it's because you haven't had enough water. Taking a sip of water before you reach for the foods, can really help stimulate the brain. You might be dehydrated. Maybe you haven't had enough carbohydrates. Without enough carbohydrates, we can't think clearly. There's a little bit more brain fog. There's not enough energy in the body. We need to make sure that we're always fueled. And if you're someone who's looking to lose weight and you're in a calorie deficit, I hear you, and that can be really hard, but you just need to strategize when those feeding periods are. Because rather than having all of your calories at once at the start of the day, maybe you just need to shorten them out and have them more gradually throughout. So then there's always energy in the body. Obviously, being on a calorie deficit is always going to be difficult. You're going to have less energy overall, but again, help yourself out. Have some foods that are higher in protein. Have some foods that are, not so calorie dense. It feels like you're eating a lot, but then there's not many calories. Something like Greek yogurt, for example, it fills the belly, makes you feel full, and it will keep you going for longer without having to sacrifice all the calories. And that throughout the day will just help with your energy levels as well. And then training. So sometimes the thought of, spending 1.5 hours, rarely 2 hours in a gym is really daunting. And over a long period of time, over 6, 12 months, for example, um, a lot of people that's hard to keep up with. So having some workouts in your locker that will only take you 15, 30 minutes, that on a day where you might not be feeling it or you might not be feeling great, you can still turn up and you can still do something. And worse, like not even worst case scenario, but as another tip, a home workout that you can do. Maybe things have just got too much at work one day and, it just feels really dark. You're getting a little bit tired. Just a 15-minute, 20-minute workout that you can do at home, just to stay on top of your goals. The worst thing you can do is just stop at like doing whatever you're doing because you start to lose all of that progress at a very quick rate. If you're doing something to maintain, then it helps so much. Like after 2, 3 weeks of just not doing anything, that's when you start to decline a little bit. But if you stay with one, maybe two sessions compared to maybe like your 4 or 5, you really, 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 really prevent that drop of progress like completely. So just doing something is always better than nothing. And if it's just a 15, 20-minute workout, you're doing more than enough. And overall as well, anywhere between 30 minutes a day is our baseline, and that includes walking. So if you are commuting, make sure you're taking the steps on the tubes rather than taking the lift or the escalator. If you're, if you someone who takes the bus, get off at the bus stop before, walk the extra distance. Find ways to increase that activity. And maybe when it's not raining or when it's not snowing, try and get out and walk, just get that fresh air into the brain. All of these little things that are going to help with not only keeping up with motivation, but just being able to think clearly. And that's, I think, where it always comes from, just being able to think clearly. And that's when water, fresh air, walking, activity is going to be so, so key. Not on here and not listed is also for those of you inside the group chat, if you're listening back over this, is engaging with the group. Um, I always say this is that everyone who comes to me with some sort of a problem or issue, and that's why we do these calls, is because you're all facing the same thing. And that's why I record these and I put them to watch back over because when you ask me the same question or when you come to me the same thing, I'm just like, well, we spoke about it in the video and this is my response, this is my answer. And guess what? It's all of you. There are some individual cases and there are some times that needs tweaks. But I go through these things as well. Whenever I get feedback on struggles, I face these same things as well, and it's just like, how can we push together? So open up in the group chat, say your struggles, because everyone else is going to be feeling the same way and everyone's going to have their own coping mechanisms. And if you want to find out new ways and new techniques, then that collaboration is going to be vital for pushing forward. Um, I did have one more, but it slipped my mind. Oh, winter. So if you're in the UK, which most of you probably are if you're listening to this, then obviously vitamin D is going to be absolutely pivotal. In the winter, we're all good. In the summer, we're all good. We absorb it from the sun. However, in winter, when it gets a lot darker, we all become deficient in vitamin D. So head down to the shops. I recommend supplementing your vitamin D if you're not already. Most people are. If you see your GP regularly, then you've probably already been given that advice. But just some sort of a vitamin D supplement because all of us will be deficient at some point when all of that storage from the summer has kind of been rinsed and it helps with energy a lot. So energy, immune system, vitamin D, make sure you're taking some sort of a supplement because without that, it just gets a little bit more difficult. Any small ways that we can help and prevent any type of, lack of motivation or brain fog or anything helps. So vitamin D supplements, make sure you're having enough water, make sure you're having your carbohydrates, make sure you're planning your nutrition properly. If you need help, drop me a message. Make sure you're training, keep on top of your training. And if not, make sure that you've got a backup plan. So if you know that maybe you can't make it to the gym, what's the backup plan? Like for me, I always say that my compounds are my most important thing. So if I can't spend an hour and a half at the gym, then I'll make sure that I've always got my squats, push-ups, pull-ups in throughout the day or whatever that looks like. So always have a backup plan and redefine your goals. We've got 70 days until the end of the year. Redefine your goal, make it specific. How are you going to feel? Maybe it's New Year's. If maybe you're thinking about turning up to a New Year's party, maybe you want to go out. Are you wearing a shirt? Are you wearing a dress? How are you feeling? How are you looking? What are those Instagram photos going to look like? What's everyone going to comment on Facebook? Are they going to say, "Oh my God, you look so good. Like, I can't believe you made so much progress." Or are you going to not want to upload that because you haven't made the progress that you thought you were going to make? Or you just felt like you didn't do enough for the next 60 or 70 days. Something to think about. Anyone that has watched this, if you are from the group, then drop a message in the group chat if you have any questions or you want to feed this back. If not, then I hope this helped. It's just a little topic to keep us going. And we will go over food on Friday and go over any nutrition tips. And that is all for today.